everybody. It's early. People a minute to get in here. Trying to fix my lighting because I wasn't really prepared for a live, but I'm gonna go live today, this morning, just so I don't have to tape too much. Everybody's some time. So we are going live today. So welcome to District 4, to the point, with information and news. I'm your host, A-Love. We're going in today on a subject that's a very difficult subject because it's kind of a long subject, and even the experts in this particular subject aren't prepared for this and don't know a lot about it. It involves women, but I feel like men should actually listen to this as well, because your girlfriend, your wife, your future wife may have this going on. But before I get started, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We look very forward to having people join us, building this channel. I definitely do not post enough. I don't go live enough on this particular channel, but I try. Also try to bring some of the people from my TikTok over to this channel. But time and everything doesn't always allow for me to do so. But I do it when I can, such as days like today, right? Okay, so I'm going to go pretty long because this is a pretty good subject. We're going to talk about PMDD and PME, which is a newer add-on to PMDD. Now, some of you are like, oh, PMS? Separate. We've got PMS, we've got PMDD, and we have a new add-on to PMDD, which is PME. All updated information from 2024. Now, the problem with a lot of women that have PMDD, I'm going to give you some stats first, but a lot of women aren't diagnosed and they don't know they have it. They just assume they have PMS. It is also a condition or a way of life that is debilitating to your everyday life. So we just commonly have periods. Women don't think too much about them. Men don't think too much about them. They don't have them. And if you have a girlfriend that, say, for example, she has PMS. So let's give you a few stats to go along with what I'm talking about. 20 to 40% of women have PMS, which gives you an indication that there are women out there that don't have anything. I know, it sounds crazy. You just wake up one day and you're like, oh, my period's here. Good. Let me take some Tylenol. I have a cousin like that. Trust me, it happens. But 20 to 40% have other symptoms. Breasts are tender long before. They're fatigued, tired long before. They are, cramping really badly at the time. They need to take something extra. They're a little moody, a little more cranky, cravings, all of these things. But if you amplify those things, hi everybody, I hope you're here. I want everybody to join this subject, it's very important. But there are these women that are they're really 8% of the population. But 2% of that population gets an extension of PME and on site of their PMDD. So you're like, whoa, start making this make sense, right? So I'm going to make this make some sense. So premenstrual dysphoric disorder is separate from premenstrual syndrome. Premenstrual syndrome are mostly physical symptoms. If you have PMDD, it's going to magnify everything that you have. Now, I know this and have experienced it because I live it every month since I was like 11. It takes about, and these statistics are coming from, so you know that they're legit statistics, from IAMPD. They are probably the ones that I found knew the most about this subject. This is not an official diagnosis, and it is because we literally don't know how many women have it. Many women have PMDD, PME, and they don't know it, which was me for my entire life until I was older and got married and maybe in my mid to late 20s. I didn't even know this existed. I knew I had something, but I'm thinking it's PMS, right? Now let's talk about how these differ, because it affected my boyfriends, my husband. At the time when I was married, it affected my daily life. And each symptom is going to be highlighted by something else you may have. So it is a condition that is exacerbated by other things. Here's some of the signs that you have. So let's say a normal girl might feel a little tired when she has PMS. That is one of the physical symptoms. But to get into the medical part of it, when you have PMDD, everything is on level 12. So while this, say my cousin, for example, who just has nothing really, but she's just like, oh, my period's here. Let me take some aspirin and I'm gonna lay down a little bit because that makes me sleepy. And then she's back, her period's on. But for those of us that have PMDD or PME, that's an additional to the PMDD, our symptoms are not only exacerbated, but they are because how our brain responds to that change every month. In this case, I'll say it even more primitively. We're built to have babies. And because of that, our body responds to any little change. This is the same woman that when she's pregnant is probably the nicest person in the world. She does not feel one hormone because her periods are so bad every month that it's actually a relief. And that's the truth in my case. So some of the symptoms with that are going to be exacerbated. They're going to be worse. So for example, I had fatigue so bad, I'd have to go home. I wouldn't want to go to school. I was so tired, it's hard for me to work. Now back then, I didn't drink coffee. There were not really too many energy drinks that I was interested in. I really didn't drink them at all until I got to college. So I was just tired all the time. Because I was so tired, I was irritable. Now this increases 3 days before your period. Now I've mapped all this out over at least several years. So trust me when I say I know what you guys are going through and how to change it. I'll tell you at the end of the video how to change it, but I'm going to let you know whether or not you can figure out if you have this or not first. And I was so tired, people didn't understand. I would not want to go out. Like I would be planning to go to a party. 2 weeks go by, I'm starting to get into my menstrual cycle, which is before your period, by the way. You don't even know your period's coming, and you're already starting to experience symptoms. It is consistent, which for women with PMDD is usually every single month. You do not skip a month. Some women go, I don't have a period for 6 months. That was my sister. She didn't have a period for months and months and months. She'd just be walking around all free, and then one day it would hit her. I never had that freedom. Ever since I started, I never stopped. I had to be pregnant or something was going on. I mean, I literally never missed. So you'll know part of that when you're starting to experience that is that you just don't miss periods. I mean, you don't. It is going to, sometimes you have more than one in a month. You're like, I just had one. 28 days to the dot, you're starting your symptoms all over again. So that's why they become so severe, because it's disruptive. So in my case, it's fatigue. Fatigue is so disruptive. I was like, oh my God, like I can't do anything. Another thing you might notice is cramps. Women with PMS do have cramps. They have bad ones. Women with nothing get, a few hits, they take some aspirin and that's it. But if you are having cramps to the point where you're getting sick, you probably have PMDD. And I'll excuse myself as the example. I got so bad, and even still now, if I don't do what I'm going to tell you at the end of this video or towards the middle of this video when I give you solutions, I would get so bad that I would get hit in the middle of whatever I was doing. I could not move. I could not drive. I can't do, people are like, why are you just sitting there? I can't move. It's really debilitating in the sense that my cramps are so bad that once they hit, I'm not going anywhere. There are times when I was at work and I couldn't go home because I was freezing in the middle. Now, on top of that, I got sick, throwing up, your body's reacting to this not only hormone change, but to this pain, this pain that is just so severe. I mean, by the time I had labor pains, I mean, I wasn't even, I was like, yeah, I'm in labor. And they were like, no, you're not. And I'm like, no, I am. That's a true story, by the way. I did go into when I was having my child. Both of them, I would go in and go, I'm in labor. And they were like, you're not in labor. I mean, are they like fake labor? It was legit labor, but I had periods so bad. I had cramps so bad that it was just another day. So that's to the point. I would fall out wherever I was. I don't care if I was at the grocery store. I don't care if I'm at the house in the middle of driving. I'd have to pull over. If I was at school, I'd have to crawl sometimes to get to the nurse's office just to get there. I mean, strangers would be like, oh my God, what do you need? Like, let me help you. And people that knew me were like, okay. But prior to that, let's say like 3 days before that, there are cravings. Not normal cravings. What you're really craving is salt or sugar. And this is because your body's needing something else. But you're filling it with the things that taste like what it needs. I'll get to that towards the end of the video. But cravings on a maximum level is part of it. If you're killing some chocolate, or you gotta have those nachos, which is my thing before every period, it's really, I'm being boozed. What does that mean? Johnny D. What's boozed? Boozoo? What are you trying to say? Because I don't even think that's spelled correctly. So let's clarify that if you want to. And try to help. Yeah, I am trying to help because, again, men don't always understand it. I'm telling you, so you'll know if your girlfriend is going through this. She's not trying to play you. She's not faking. She's not even ignoring you. She doesn't want to go on a date and she says, I'm too tired, or I have cramps, or I'm not feeling well. Sometimes the guy will feel like she's rejecting him, but she isn't. She's legitly feeling these things to the point where she can't do what she normally does. I'll explain it for people like Johnny D. For people like Johnny D that are typical males, or John D. It's why I'm telling you. So if she's to the point where she's cramping so badly and you just don't believe it's that bad, like, suck it up, you'll be fine. I mean, why do you do this every month? Like, we have to, she's in legit pain, demobilizing pain. She can't move. She is in so much pain, go ahead and call it labor, because labor was actually easier. So I'm telling you, not to expose myself or to get you in my business, but to tell you what's legitimately happening so I can help people. Because I've gone through it all. And it takes up to 12 years for a woman to even know she has it. So she can go through all her high school, she can go through all her college, she can start coming in and being married and having a family and suddenly realize, I don't think this is normal. But look at all she's been through before that. So that's why when I do stuff like this and I go live, and it is to help you. It is to say, this is what I've been going through. I had to research to get the information that I have. Many women don't know to do the research because they don't have it, or they're not being diagnosed at all. So thank you for your comment, John D, because when you say ignorant stuff like that, it helps me, it fuels me. It lets me know that I need to get in and make sure people understand. And I'm not trying to put you down. It's just I'm using you as an example, right? And letting people know that people really don't believe you when you say these things. They just have to love you a lot. Unfortunately for me, I grew up with all women and all of them had it. So the first day that I had it, my mom was on one. She was like, okay, this is what's gonna happen. And she let me know, but she, was just fueling me every day. I got older and started doing the research and realizing this is actually something. Back in my mother's day, it probably wasn't called anything. She just had bad periods. That's what she described them as. So, but as generations got older, PMD started having a label, okay? Or PME, which is happening now. So that's another way to tell that it's to the point where you're not functioning. If you have irritability, I promise you in real life, I'm really nice. I mean, I'm not a pushover. People will tell you, oh no, if she, she'll let you know if she needs to let you know. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm sorry, Johnny D. But I was gonna say it either way, but I just wanted to share it. So, or John D. I'm keep calling you Johnny. I'm sorry. I have a Johnny in my life. So the truth is, it is. I think I lost my thought. Oh, which reminds me, another symptom is you have mind confusion or memory loss. It is the cross of the hormones, but your brain is also responding differently. It's also attributed to the level of fatigue. Not always, because it depends on the woman. It varies each month. So there are months where I don't have anything. I'm like, hey, oh, my period's here. Like, oh, I didn't even know that was gonna happen. And I'll tell you how I get there, because I'm gonna have it regardless, but I can function, and I'll show you how to do that towards the end. But for men, when you're not, and I love using John D's the example, you don't know what's happening. Your girlfriend is just tripping. Especially irritability and anger become one of the symptoms, and for some women more severe than others. Some women may suffer from depression or anxiety. If you're already diagnosed with depression and anxiety, the worst part of it is that it's actually worse. So let's say I wasn't diagnosed with any type of mental health disorders or anxiety or depression or anything, but it even got me because there were times when I was so irritable or cranky and my mood was swinging that I was just like, leave me the heck alone. Where are my keys? So mind confusion works for me, and it's not mind confusion like where you just don't know what's going on. It's mind confusion more like where you're like, I just put my keys down. What's happened to my keys? And then you'll go away and be like, what was I just looking for? You're like, wait, who has my keys? I do this like every month. I used to, but I put them in a certain place. But back then I would be like going on my way to school. I'm trying to drive my car, and I'm like, I have my keys in my hand, but I don't know it. So I'm like, and I'm running around looking crazy because my boyfriend's waiting to go, and I'm like, where are my, did you see my keys? And I'll be like, and then there's a joke, right? We crack up. But really, it kept happening. And he'd be like, what the hell? Why is it all the time? He says all the time. It's really every month around the same time. But he's like, all the time you're running around looking for your keys and they're somewhere ridiculous. Or they're like in the cabinet under the sink in the kitchen. Because I just looked for some Clorox to clean the bathroom sink back out. And I'm like, where the heck happened to my keys? And everyone's running around looking for these keys that they look for practically every month. And we're looking everywhere, and I'm like scratching my head, and I'm trying to figure, and he's running around like, you just had them. And I'm like, did you take them? And he's like, why would I take your keys? And he's running around. Poor guy. You gotta get accused for his keys. That particular guy all the time. And he just got to the point where he was like, here, your keys are there. He would just know. I mean, it's like, it's so routine for women that your guy, if he loves you and cares a lot, will just adjust. But it's hard for them, so please take care of it if you can. Because it was difficult when I fell out every month from cramps. It's difficult when I'm rocking around like, so this happens at work and school, right? This is what you'll begin to discover. I'm an accountant. I was a forensic accountant at one point. And I'm killing it every month. Because I'm normally, really nice, unless, you do something ridiculous, I'll defend myself. But for the most part, I love people, so I'm real nice. 2, I'm really sharp. So I'm killing. I'm looking for stuff. I'm finding things. But, boom, PMDD hits me. And all of a sudden, I'm like, 2 plus 4 is... then people are looking at you like you're an idiot, right? What? 6? Like, people are like 4 plus 2, Alex. You know, they're cracking jokes. People are giving me italics. And they're like, you work in accounting. How do you not know what that is? That's how simple it gets for you. But it's not that I'm changing or I suddenly lied to get this job. It's the fact that my brain is moving really fast. Well, when I experience PMDD, it's not. It's moving very different. It's even hitting other sections of the brain. So it affects my work, right? I have to find coping skills on how not to do that change every month. So some of you may be experiencing that, right? You might be like, oh my God, like, I can never do math. Some people say, oh my God, I'm so bad at math. It's probably not that. If you're suffering from PMDD and you suddenly don't remember, the square root of 144, it is not because you don't recognize the process is to put the 2, to times it against itself to get 12. It is because your brain is working different. And your brain is adjusting. Your body's doing a whole bunch of different things. And for whatever reason, that equates to what is known as mind confusion or temporary memory loss. And it's on basic things. It's you're thinking at the time. It could be as simple as, where's my pen? Anybody see where my pen? I just had it. To 2 plus 4. Right? Yeah, hold tight to that calculator. Or you can remember it, but you have to double check yourself. Because you might say 4 plus 2 is 6 in your mind, but write down 5. And then someone checks it and it's like, 5, Alex? Really? You didn't get the 2 plus 4? We are running around looking for this because you put 5 down? Didn't you check that with the calculator? I don't know why you need a calculator for that. Then you get that person. You get that person at work that just feels good that they finally got you on something because you were killing it every other day, and now they got you on the day where you're off. And they actually start looking for that day. So pay attention to that if you're an executive, or you're a woman, or your job is relying heavily on people checking your work, because they're going to take that as an opportunity oftentimes because they don't know why you're doing what you're doing, but they want to say you're not as smart as they are. When they know that's not true, but they don't know why you're not being smart, so they don't really care. So you have to be aware of what you have. You have to be aware for the people around you. You have to be aware for your husbands, your spouse, your kids. Sometimes I'd get my kids, did you take my keys? And they'd be like, I wasn't even here, or something. Yeah, probably not that bad, but bad enough for it to. Or you recognize the change in your girl. So let's say you're dating this woman. She's great. I mean, she's fine. You're just loving her to death. She's sweet. You're generally, people with PMD are extremely nurturing, so she's taking good care of you. She's cooking meals or whatever she's supposed to be doing, your wife, and taking care of your children, your kids, and then all of a sudden, she isn't. She's like, I'm not cooking tonight. You'll start to see the symptoms. Oh, order McDonald's, guys. Not tonight. And you think she's just tired from work or something, but it's really she's beginning that process. She's starting to go into her PMDD, which will get progressively up and down until the last 3 days. 3 days. Now, PMDD symptoms can last from 1 to 2 weeks. Think about how much time 4 weeks are in a month. So you're completely off for 1 week, coming back down on another week from your period, and then you've got up to 2 weeks of symptoms. That's why I'm telling men, I hope you're watching this too. Because if you get good at it, you can help follow her symptoms. You can sort of be there. Sometimes he would, God bless. I never talk badly about my exes because God bless them. They really caught on Some of them already had women that had had it before, and they just were like on, okay, it's time now, I can tell you. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Get a hook. I had a guy actually create a key hook by the door to hang my keys on. So he could, so I didn't have to even know. I just come in the door, hook, and then I'm like, where are my keys? And he's like, where are your keys supposed to be? And I said, oh, on the hook. I quit looking after a while. I would just go straight to the hook. There are my keys. If he saw my keys sitting somewhere, he would put them on there, and I would just go. That's what was my go-to. So wherever he would see my keys crazily put, just so that I don't have to run around looking for them, he puts them on the hook. Key hook. That's it. We didn't worry about that anymore. So you'll start to see a pattern. So I say all that to say this. One of the first things, I had a doctor who I will give all the credit to. His name was Dr. Zager. I had gone my entire life with this, not knowing that I had it, but not knowing what the name was. I didn't even know it was considered a thing, because it only affects 8% of the population of women, and out of that 8%, 2% have it the way that I have it, which means it's every symptom under the sun, plus exaggerated by the fact that I had anemia. I did not know that at the time. I was borderline for almost all my life, which helped to make the symptoms worse. So as I said earlier, for those of you just joining, we are talking about PMDD. It's a very long subject, so this live will probably go a little longer than most, but I want to get it all out there. I want to put this information together so you can start caring for yourself and for the people around you. It is identified by symptoms that affect your daily activities. And I used as the example, for those of you that are just joining, I used as the example when I was an accountant. What would have happened if I just didn't do anything like I did when I was younger? Because when I was younger, I didn't do anything. I mean, my teachers were baffled. They were like, what? Alex, they would even get mad sometimes. Like, you're smart enough to know this answer. Like, we know, you've said it 1,000 times. Like, you know it. So why today are you being, smart? Why are you being a smart ace? And I'd be like, I'm not trying to be. I just, people would just know that I knew the answers to this stuff because I was killing it the rest of the days. Or at least 2.5 days, but then I would hit PMDD, and especially those 3 days. I say all that to say, too, pay attention to your pattern. So the first thing you're going to do to figure out if you even have it is monitor your symptoms for, they say 2 months, but in my experience, I had a really great doctor, Dr. Zager. He's retired now, who put me on the regimen. He started by first figuring out how to diagnose me. His wife had it, and he was also a doctor and understood how it worked. So I had to find a specialist in this area. I had found Dr. Zager at the time, the great Beverly Hills doctor, retired now, that brought this to my attention. I was older, I was married, I had kids. I mean, I was like so dealing with this all the time, and he spotted that out very quickly. He would say, I think you have PMDD. This is what I want you to do. I want you to monitor your symptoms every day. And he said 3 months. And he wasn't clear the first 2, but he was able to get it in that 3rd month. And that's at minimum. I would say if you're really, this is your first time ever even knowing what this is, you think it's a possibility, 4 months. Take it to your doctor. Preferably a really good doctor. But if you take it to whomever you have and then you work with them, if you don't have a good doctor, you're not able to get a Dr. Zager like I was able to get. So for that, I had to monitor. What I started to notice was a couple of things. I have about, I would say 7 days to 10 days worth of symptoms. I have about 1 normal week a month where I don't have anything, and then I am recovering for that week after, meaning my period happened, and now I'm, my body's readjusting back hormonally. Hormonally speaking, your body goes through the same processes, even women that have nothing. It's how your body responds to the hormone change. Women with PMDD generally are fertile. The fertility rate of your body is how severe your symptoms will probably be. That's why I said they're usually really girly, they're usually really feminine, they really like a lot, all the nurturing qualities that you would customarily get from a woman. And then it starts to taper because she won't want to cook because she's tired if she's not monitoring these symptoms. You will be more irritable. If you get the symptoms that I have, you're going to be looking for stuff that you just had. You're going to have trouble with something that you normally do every 5 seconds with no problem. All of a sudden you have a problem. I did caution telling people from work because, again, if you come into the wrong person, you can't trust anybody with anything. People with bad intentions just have bad intentions. So they're going to use it. Oh, she's not that bright. I don't know how she got hired, but, whatever the case may be. Oh, she's not good with kids. I heard her yelling at one. Whatever your job is, doesn't matter what it is. You could be a preschool teacher and they're still going to find some problems, So start with that. First step, number 1. I would say 2 to 4 months because they come in waves. Moderate, slight, and severe. And they're going to vary every month. There are some months you won't feel a thing. Maybe just cramps. There's some months you'll feel cramps no matter what you're doing. There's some months that you will have. So you'll start to get to know what your symptoms are highlighted. So each are highlighted differently in each one. Your main symptom may be irritability. Maybe that's your main symptom. You cussing your boyfriend out for nothing. You'll think you have a point, and he's like, "Why are you yelling at me?" And poor guys. God. If you're a guy with a woman that has PMDD, especially if she has no system and she's not diagnosed, and you love her enough to still be there, God bless you. I hope I'm helping. Watch this multiple times because I know it's tough on you. We know it is. We don't know it at the time, but I can sense, right? The look of pain and confusion in their eyes when I'm like, "Did you take my keys?" And they're like, "What? Like what? Babe, what? Or if you say you don't want to go out, they're like, before they know, they're like, "Why? I feel a distance, like you don't love me anymore." You start having those conversations. If you're having those conversations with your boyfriends at certain times of every month, PMDD. If you're more emotional about whether they're there or not, PMDD. Okay, start paying attention to that because it does affect your relationships for that period of time. Those 3 days, I have to tell you. So once you start seeing a pattern, you're starting to check every day for these 4 months or whatever period of time you're checking off stuff. You'll start to know your own personal pattern because it's different for every woman. Some women may not have mind confusion at all. They may just die or try to kill people. Some women may have severe depression. I don't have any. But if you're diagnosed with depression, which is often happening in this case, they diagnose you with depression, but they don't diagnose that it's going to be worse during your period because they don't think PMDD, they don't diagnose it. Another thing to take into consideration, the diagnosis isn't because it's not necessarily a real thing. It's not considered a diagnosis because it goes under the category of mental health, and it is not a mental health issue. They can't put it under that table because it happens for some women 3 days and then they're done. For some women it's a week, and that's not a mental health issue. It's based on just hormonal changes versus neurotransmitters, for example. The way your brain is receiving and collecting information, all of those things. It is affecting the hormones in your body. Versus, also in your brain, I guess to a certain extent, but versus, the workings of your brain, I guess would be an easier way to say it. So you're following that pattern. If you have a man, let him know what you're doing. Tell him, I am going to start to monitor these behaviors. He will help you because God knows he probably wants some relief because he does not know what the heck is wrong with you. Especially guys that had a mother that was like that. They're like, women are just, you ever hear that guy that says, he's a good guy, but he's like, women are crazy. They're just great. That's a guy that's probably had PMDD in his life, or a legit crazy woman, but we don't know that. We know if tire slashing is happening, and if she's checking your phone. All that has nothing to do with PMDD. This is just a woman that's just crazy. But if she's normally okay, this is how you tell the difference between straight crazy. If she's checking your phone, if she doesn't let you go anywhere, she's telling you what to wear, that's crazy. Okay, she's cutting your tires, she's cursing out other women, she's just on one, she's on one. That's not PMDD. But if she's normally sweet, she's normally loving, she takes good care of your kids if you have any, she takes good care of you, you laugh, you joke, and then, she'll say something that you think is crazy, like, where the heck are my keys? And they're in her hand. Or, oh, man, I don't feel like cooking. And it goes on for several days, and you're like, what? You're used to her cooking every day, and then all of a sudden she's like, yeah, not today. And it happens consistently. Or she's normally on one, and then she suddenly sounds like the dumbest woman in the world. You're like, what the hell just happened? Why would you answer that question? Or something like that. That's a woman starting to experience something. She will monitor those, he will monitor those, and then you guys can set out a pattern. Now, the purpose of doing step 1, which is to monitor your steps for that one. Once you do that, you have to figure out a system. For example, I have irritability, using myself as the example. I am heavily fatigued, using myself as the example. And my cramps, I feel like they were worse than labor pains. I feel like my cramps were so bad that labor was hardly anything. Every month, I was a roller coaster. And it was to the point where even my teachers were like, you're normally not this mad. Like, I don't know why you're this mad at this person. It must be something going on with you. Are you okay at home? Like, they would be like, she's so different. Like, why is she like this? Or I'd be like, I didn't do my homework. I'm doing it now. They'd be like, you always do your homework. Like, what? You just decided not to do it? And I'd be like, I'm just going to do it now. And they'd be like, are you having problems at home? And there was like nothing going on at home. It was just me not understanding what was happening to my body. Falling out, all of these things. So you're going to monitor these things. Now, I say that to tell you how I solved the problem. So the first part was I had to take care of the mood swings because my poor boyfriends were just on one when I was looking for crazy stuff. I still do that, but I catch it and I try to alleviate it. So this is how I learned to manage it. I took many things. I took St. John's wort, because that was a suggestion, to help with the irritability, which did work, by the way, but not for the mind confusion. I still had that, so I was just nicer about it. I was just like, you took my keys, didn't you? Versus, did you take my keys? Now I'm just like, no, you took them. No, you have, it's just a lot nicer about it. But I needed something to monitor them both. I took B12. This is the first Dr. Zager gave me B12. And he's like, try B12 because you're probably deficient in B. You're losing a lot of blood. He had some medical reason to give me this B12. And I'm taking this B12 and it's working for about 5 minutes. And then I'm back to normal. And I'm like, this is not working. And I'm going on and on. So he says, try B6. So I'm taking B6. So I'm on this and I go to his practitioner. His, meaning my doctor was a male, is Dr. Zager. And then he had a female nurse practitioner. And I ended up going to her one day just because he wasn't available and I just wanted to get in there. And I said, well, I'm taking B12 and I took B, and she's like, what are you taking that for? And I said, because I have, PMDD. And she's like, he's a man, take B complex. And I was like, you overriding the doctor? And she was like, he's got an idea and he's correct. He's trying to get you on a system. But instead of putting you through all of that and trying to figure out which B to take B complex. So for those of you that have that, B complex. You only take one and you're done for the day. You may need 2 3 days before. Because those 3 days before, everything intensifies. I can barely, not to disrespect any men listening, but feel my breast sometimes 3 days before. I mean, they are so sensitive, it is not even funny. I feel cramps before I actually have them. I mean, it's bad. Everything is intensified. So you want to not just take one. If you feel like you need 1.5 or 2, I wouldn't go over 2. Take that. That is going to work because I will be all over the place, and I'll take a B complex. I usually take it first thing so that the symptoms don't even start. Now, this may not work for everybody. B complex may not be your formula because of what you're dealing with. So if you're dealing with not necessarily mind confusion, but just aggressive irritability, everything he does is getting on your nerves. Everything your kids are doing, oh, sit down. Jeez. Like, oh, my boss is an idiot. Oh my God, I'm so tired of the corporate structure. Or if you're not doing a corporate job, oh my God, these kids are just, I mean, I work at a daycare, but they're still getting on my nerves. Your boyfriend, oh my God, men are so dumb. If you're that, St. John's. You don't have to work with mind confusion, but you do have to work on balancing out your hormones. Now, if you're suffering from major depression and you say, your doctor will tell you, take St. John's wort, it's for depressed people. That is not true in my experience. It is true to a certain extent. It is true if your depression is mild. Let's just say that day you're like, not feeling well. But if you're to the point of, I can't get out of bed, I just don't like any of the things I normally like, I just want to kill myself. If you're there, the reason why it's so bad is because you have both. You have depression and PMDD, and they will both have to be treated separately. So taking St. John's wort, and it's often misdiagnosed in this way. The person will be like, I'm depressed, and the doctor will, I want to use something natural, or, what should I take? The first thing, because he's not going to want to just put you on depression medicine, if it's a good doctor, he's going to say St. John's wort. People use that all the time thinking it's working for depression, and I promise you it isn't. You need separate medicine, not St. John's wort. I don't know who started that, but I'm telling you, I recommended it to many of a depressed person, and they came back to me like, what are you talking about? Like, Alex, I don't know what you call depressed, but this isn't it. And it's happened over years of me recommending it because my doctor told me to take it, and I was like, I feel fine, but somebody clued me in, so this is what happens. I go back to the doctor. I go to Dr. Zager. Go back to his nurse practitioner, and she says, go talk to another doctor. I'm going to say Dr. Fields because I can't remember his name. Dr. Fields. And I go to Dr. Fields, who is a psychiatric expert, and I told him, am I depressed? Because he gave me St. John. He starts laughing. And he said, well, first of all, if you knew that, you wouldn't be depressed. And do you feel depressed? I'm like, well, no, but I read, because I'm always reading something, that St. John's wort is for depressed people. Did he give it to me? He said, no, it's not. You can use it to ease symptoms of depression, meaning you might have something mild happening. In your case, he's easing your irritability to balance out your hormones. It's not for that. And so I didn't know. So I was hurting people that were probably depressed. So I apologize for those people, but I never go too long, and I always make sure I correct things. So St. John wort says it's for depression, but it doesn't really work. It's working as a rebalancer for whatever you're having, but not if you're diagnosed clinically or you have like legit depressed feelings. Are very different than what I'm saying here. So do not use St. John's wort if you're not just having PMDD. If you're having more than that, it is two separate things. You might take St. John's wort, but you also need something coming from the actual doctor that's going to help with your symptoms to alleviate both of those. So when I said at the beginning of this video, for those of you just joining us, that anything else you have exacerbates what you already had. I had such heavy fatigue, using myself as the example, because I already was anemic. Untreated, because I didn't know. I just forced myself to keep going. But treating just the fact that I had PMDD did not help with the fact that I had anemia. I can mask the symptoms, which I did for many, many years. I started drinking coffee, we had energy drinks, and sometimes I'll do that not recognizing my symptoms are starting. I'll start just loading up on coffee. And people are like, whoa, you're a real coffee drinker. And I'm like, oh yeah. And then I'd have to catch myself and be like, wait a minute. Have I taken iron tabs? And the answer is probably no, right? So those are the things that will ease. So you have to find a formula. It has to happen at the start of your symptoms all the way up to your period. Now, what will happen is many of us that are really bad will still have symptoms during our period. None of what you took pre-menstrual is going to work. The only thing that you might be able to take is B complex if you're a B complex taker. If you take St. John's wort, you can take it, but it's probably not going to do anything. If you're taking, aspirins or Tylenols and all of these things, you're going to have to double up on those because it's really not going to be as effective for whatever reason. But what it will do, if you take it on the onset and go all the way through, so let's say you have 2 weeks. Let's go to the worst case scenario. You're like I am. You're 7 to 10 days going in. You catch it at the beginning. You start taking B complex, St. John's wort, whatever you're taking. You start, making sure you have a little bit of coffee, getting the iron tabs, making sure I have all the things that I have. And then my period will start without me having cramps because I start taking a leave, which is what I use. Because if you have cramps like mine, I don't know how women get away with taking Tylenol. That stuff does nothing. I could take 8 Tylenol and just knock myself out for no reason. Wake up, still have cramps. So it depends on the severity of what you have. I'll tell you the things that did not work for me. Tylenol is a great headache medicine. It does not work for cramps. Ibuprofen, you have to take too many. I was taking 6, 7, like a crack addict. No disrespect to people doing crack. It's a joke. On ibuprofen. And you can't take it on an empty stomach. So let's just say for those of us that aren't eating every 5 minutes, you forgot to eat lunch, you're on your way to lunch, boom, you get hit with cramps. You can't take an ibuprofen. You would have to eat, but you can't move and you're sick and you just really would have to have somebody spoon feed you food. Just enough to be able to take. So if you're like me and your cramps are really that bad, I'll leave. It was Antiprox back in the day. It was only prescription. We called it Antiprox back then. I don't know what's called now. It does have an official name and they do still have it. But Aleve, and I take 2. You're only supposed to take 1 Aleve and it lasts 12 hours, but not with my cramps. So what I started doing, I say all that to say, was step 2. I built a system. So my system worked based on what my symptoms were and work with a doctor that understands that. If you don't have a doctor that understands that, you're going to have to go through trial and error. But I will give you some suggestions. B complex or St. John's wort for irritability, for stress, for anything that's going to make you more apt to yell at somebody. If you also have on top of that what I call mind confusion, but it's temporary memory loss, you don't remember anything, you can't find stuff, you can't add 2 digits together. If you're going through that, B complex. And anything that keeps you alert. And even then, on certain months, you may just need to find some time. There are some days, if you have a really bad month, it's going to disrupt everything. No matter what you take. You'll have to double up on stuff. So let's just say you're on your system. You've got your B complex. You've got your relieving. This is stuff you're taking ahead of time. So you feel your symptoms coming on. Man, I'm looking for my keys again. So find a starting symptom. For me, I'm always looking for something. Or I can't add something. Or I'm like, man, I was just in this room. This is coming from a person with a great memory. So that was my own personal indicator. If I'm starting to do that, if I'm like, so-and-so's name is, okay, I'm starting. I go in, I take that. With that, I take cramping medicine. On the onset. I may start with one. This is the way Dr. Zager told me to do it. He says you start with one if you take it and leave for 12 hours. When you get closer, you start taking 2. And I was like, this is crazy. And the doctor's like, it sounds like it, but it'll work. So I said, okay. Do it because you're my doctor and I trust you, right? Because I really did. He was a great doctor. And when I got closer to that, I started doubling up on the cramping medicine. And I promise you, the first day I didn't feel one cramp, I almost passed out. I passed out from joy because I was like, I ran back to tell the doctor. That's how happy I was. I ran back to tell the doctor. I was like, I felt nothing. The setback to that is on the month that I was doing well, I didn't take enough because I didn't know I didn't know my symptoms would lessen. So step number 3, stick to the routine. Even though you won't remember half of it, or even though you won't know it's coming, you're going to have really good months. You're just killing it the whole month. So now I judge whether or not I'm killing it the whole month. If I'm still killing it and it's towards the end of the month, I haven't had my period yet, I am going to slowly start taking some. Because I'm like, I'm on point. My period has got to come. I'm not trying to get cramps. So I start taking something slowly. You will find that those months, you'll only need it for the 3 days prior. You will always need it those 3 days prior. Otherwise, you're going to get in a whole lot of arguments with your loved one. Your poor man's going to be like, why are you yelling at me about dishes that are clean and in the dishwasher? You'll be like, because I need you to put them in there. And normally, you just put them in there and don't worry about it, or he puts them in there and when he gets... normally, if it breaks from your normal routine, this is how you know you have not a crazy woman, but a woman that's temporarily crazy, probably to you. But so you'll know how to help her. Cut her some slack. I know you're like, what? We don't need to cut her. No, you do. You need to cut her some slack because her body is going through so much. Her body is on a roller coaster. Her hormones are all over the place, and it's not like regular women. It is only a small percentage of the population. But you will attract a lot of relationships because you're not normally like that. So you have to protect those relationships, and you have to make sure that you're on your routine. I generally just tell people. Now, there's always bad people in the world. Sometimes it works against me. But in real life, I tell people so that they know. So that they can start to see it. Especially if I'm dating somebody. I have to be like, listen, I have PMDD. They're like, what is that? And I'll be like, I tell them everything and then they forget. Because I'm all like regular. And then one day I'm like not regular. I'm looking for something crazy, And that's one of my key symptoms is that I'm always like, where's my pen? What? Did anybody see? Do you have my pen? And he'll be like, the one you're pointing at me with? And I'll be like, oh. Or I'll be like, has anybody seen my pen? And it's like under the sink in the kitchen. And you're like, why is your pen under the sink? And like, I trip myself out sometimes of where I put stuff. I'll like come back like on a good month and I'll be like, why is my lotion under the seat in the car? Like I didn't even use it here. It's like I would have bought 2 by then, and I'm still looking for that same one that I happen to find that's in a random spot. And then I'll remember I washed the car, grabbed that, threw it under the seat so I could vacuum. I'll remember some story of when I'm back normal of how that got there. And it will work the same for you at work. And I say that now because I monitor it. But even if you do, you might find things at work that you were like, man, I had to recreate this. Because you become very resourceful. Because you're like, hey, I can't find my report. Let me redo it. And then when you go back to normal, your report will be, in your car, in the trunk after you cleaned it out. Here's your report. So when you start seeing that, it's an indicator. That's your main symptom. That's your indicator symptom. See, so 1 and 2 get you to the indicator symptom. So you have to have you're going to have 1 or 2 major symptoms that rise to the top, and you're going to have to use that to know when you're beginning your process. Interesting enough, you go long enough and you're with somebody long enough, and he's a great guy, he will probably tell you. You're on your way, babe. I don't tell you how many times I've heard that. Babe, you're starting. And I'm like, what? What do you? And I get all offended, like, oh, how dare you say that? You know? And he'll be like, because your keys are in the ignition. I'll be like, oh, you're right. For some women, it may be something. For some women, they may be normally depressed. Your man might know this, and he's dealing with depression. But that day, you're just in bedridden depression. I mean, it's enough to make him leave you. But it's because it's being exaggerated by the fact that you are. I mean, you might even have it bad already. But, you know, if he comes in and you're suicidal one day, I mean, I'm sure that's probably shocking to a regular guy, you know, or to someone that understands only the basics of it. But because you've not been treated for everything, you're still going to have that level of depression. So you might be on some medicine, according to the documentation. I don't know. I'm using notes and statistics for my research, but it's going to be worse. So you'll have to be prepared to take care of them both. But be careful, one might cancel out the other. So you might take your depression medicine and a vitamin B all at the same time. They're going to cancel out each other. I don't know why this happens in our bodies, but it does happen. So you'll take your depression medicine after. So maybe in the morning when you first get up, by your bedstand will be whatever you take. St. John's Wort, vitamin B. There's other ones. There's an AE combination. I'll give you some more as I think of them. You have that by your bed. You take that so you're not, heaving over with depression. And then you might drink a cup of coffee, eat a little breakfast, take your depression medicine. I don't know. I made that up. So don't follow me. You have to follow what your body says you need to be doing. Okay? So that's an example of routines. But you need to find your trigger symptom in order for you to have 2. Step 1, you go several months up to 4 monitoring your symptoms. So you get the timing down. If you're every 28 days on the dot, you cannot forget and go 25 days because you're going to miss some days, and it's going to be the crucial days, which is right before your period starts. Then you have to create a system. If you don't have a good doctor, this is going to be trial and error. Even with a good doctor, he's going to put you on trial and error. He's going to figure out what else you have, and he may miss. He or she could be a woman doctor. She may miss. She might be like, you're severely depressed, I'm going to put you on depression. Or you've got crazy anxiety, I'm going to put you on anxiety medicine. And then she doesn't put you on anything for PMDD. So on those months when you have PMDD, and if you're one of those women that have it for 2 weeks, 7 to 10 days, anything within that, not 2 full weeks because it would be 14, but let's just say you have 7 to 10 days, you're back anxious. And she's like, what, are you taking your medicine? You're running around anxious, and people think you're crazy again because you're not really monitoring your symptoms. You're monitoring part of them, but you're not monitoring your PMDD, which has to be separate. So you're taking, I don't know how that works. I don't have anxiety, but you're taking it. Now, the important part, and I'm going to tell you what to do, part of when you're discovering what's going on with you is figuring out what else you have. If I had figured out I was anemic, I would have realized why my fatigue was so bad. I would have started treating them both together. But I didn't find out I was anemic until recently. So I've gone all these years heavily fatigued, and everybody's not noticing, A, because I mask it in, coffee and energy drinks, but also because I didn't know anything else. I didn't know people weren't that bad, that they were bad, but I was extra because there's one symptom I'm not taking care of, and I didn't know. So I just recently got that as part of my package. Now I threw in some iron tabs and maybe some shots for me because I didn't have any iron, I didn't have any reserves, which is almost unheard of. The doctor was panicking that I have no reserves as far as iron. And she was like, how are you even getting up every day? I'm like, hell, I don't know. I just do. Because I just learned to push through it because I probably had it for a long time and didn't know. It's the same thing if you're depressed all the time. If you have anxiety all the time, you may find a doctor to take care of that. So the doctor might be like, maybe like, I don't know, I feel anxious, because people are readily able to spot out some sort of mental health issue. But if it's not that, so I wasn't feeling necessarily anxious. I was just doing a bunch of stuff to keep myself up. So if you're on your 5th cup of coffee, you're probably going to seem pretty anxious. You're probably like, oh my God. And they don't know how much you're drinking because you don't know how much you're drinking. You just know you're not sleepy. So the doctor's like, you suffer from anxiety. I'm like, I don't think so. But I'm like all wired. And she's like, I said, I drink a lot of coffee. And she's like, what kind of coffee you? And I'm like, maybe a cup 2, 3, 4. And she's thinking, get off that first and let's see if anxiety is what you have. It turns out it wasn't. So sometimes they will diagnose you with something and it won't be that. Because PMDD is very non-easy for doctors to pinpoint. But if you don't get the other stuff fixed, you're never going to get to the root. Or if you just fix your PMDD, you're not going to really be fixing it because all your other stuff is still going to be exaggerated at least a week before your period. And subsequently, possibly during. So you've gotta be in health. You've got to keep everything in check. Not mask it. I do mask fatigue, and I won't know that I'm doing it. I'll just realize my cups of coffee increased. So it's little things like that that takes you to step 3, where you're like, oh, how many cups of coffee do I have to? Oh, wow, this is number 4. Probably doing too much. Let me figure. Did I take iron tabs? No. You see how that works? So sometimes you just think you're like going through it and you're not really going through it and you're just not monitoring what you have. So it's that bad, or you think those cramps are normal, which I did for many years. I would be like, aren't cramps terrible? And every woman would say, yes, they are. Oh my God, they're so horrible. And then they would see mine and go, oh, no, I don't have all that. Or they would be like, just go home. I used to get that a lot. Why don't you just go home? Oh my God, why are you sticking it out? Oh my God. Because women sometimes are very judgmental about women. And I would fall out somewhere and people would be like, really? Do you just want to go home? I'd be like, I can't go home. They'd be like, wait, you did all that theatrics and you don't want to go home? And I'd be like, no, you don't understand, I can't go home. Go to the nurse. Yeah, I kind of can't. You can't, you mean you don't want to go to the nurse? So you just want to what, sit here? I can't tell you how many conversations in high school I had like that. I mean, I usually had really nice teachers, and I would say, listen, you don't understand. Like, if I could walk right now just to get away from you, I'd be walking. But right now I can't. And then they would run into somebody. You know, you're always good when you have like a nurse that gets it. She's just like, oh, she can't move, you idiot. Like, she's not lying about that. She's stuck in this situation right now. Or they would say, somebody can't take her to the nurse. And they would have to literally get a guy to carry me to the nurse's office. Or my boyfriend would take me to the nurse's office. But I would be that. It's that misunderstood. I'm just saying. So it's up to you to monitor it. So when you go to the doctor and you start working on the system and you won't know that it's working, you'll feel better in certain areas, so you will assume. So that's why I said trigger. You have to know where your trigger is. You have to know it. Not, I think it is, Could quite possibly to be part of your monitoring for that. Step number one is to make sure you find the trigger. Once you find the trigger, then you have to hold that and find all the other stuff around it. That's step 4. So you're going to have to, okay, oh, now I know what my trigger is. It's going to be the fact that I can't ever find anything and I can't add 2 things together. I'm going through mind confusion. This is my first step. But once I started taking care of that, I got myself on a system. I was still having certain things, which was fatigue. I was still not as tired as I was before, but still really tired. And every time, up until recently, I promise you, it is to this date of this, maybe 2 years ago, after going on and on through high school, after going on, that I finally realized, oh, I'm anemic. Because I wasn't for years, I was borderline. But I should have been taking something then. And I didn't know, right? Because they kept telling me I was borderline. I was young, I was healthy for all the most part. So especially when you're healthy and you go to the doctor, they're gonna be like, you're fine. You have PMDD, you got a little system, fix that. But it takes certain doctors that really are able to spot things that go, we need to test everything. Because you still shouldn't be that tired, is what my doctor currently told me. Let's just check for everything. Yeah, I get it. You got PMD. Let's just check for everything, and then that's what she found. She was like, "Oh, I'm not." She's like, you're probably tired, more connected to that than and that." And she separated them and took care of both. That's why I'm telling you this. So let's go over some more stats just to break up the monotony of me telling you about the 4 steps. 42 million women in America have PMDD. Added to that is PME. This is the emotional part. I won't even bother breaking down the major parts of that, but it's just basically that you might have more anger, irritability, and depression, rather than say like cramps being an indicator, or tenderness being an indicator, or sensitivity being an indicator. Let's just say this time of the month normally you might be a level 5, level 2 mad. You're going to be 6. Which is going to be a change from what you normally do. So your poor guy, let's just say every day he's just getting up in the morning, he will put dishes in the sink, he goes to work, he comes back, cleans the dishes, puts them. You don't say anything for like weeks. And then all of a sudden, you're hit with anger. So normally you might be like, I've been meaning to tell you, can you just do them before you leave, please? Or can we like share it? Or that might be your normal reaction, like, babe, come on now. I mean, waiting that long. Okay, you know what? I'll just do it. Or what? However your personality is, I don't know. But you're gonna wait until he does it. He's gonna come home, and you're gonna do something like standing over the sink. What's this? He's going to be looking back behind him like, who is this lady? Like, what do you mean? Why is dishes in the sink? I do that every day. Because they're going to say something basic, right? Well, they're always there until I get home. For the guy to give you an indicator, if it's something that she would normally not be upset about, I mean, she might normally say something, but she's not going to be raging mad, that is her symptom. If she's more of a lying in wait reaction, it's because she's starting her cycle. Now, this is if she's normally not like that. If she is going off all the time and she's constantly yelling at you and she's just crazy. She's a temperamental person. She's just violent. But if she's just normally really, really cool, like not a lot bothers her, that's why it's an indicator, because it is a huge difference. It is almost a 360. She may do the opposite early in the month. She might be like, hey, did I tell you about these dishes? Like, do them now. And she'll be doing them like, oh my God, you're such a nerd. And she'll put them in the sink and she'll go to work. Or she'll be like, can you, babe, the dishes? Okay, I forgot. I meant to do them before. Okay, I'm sorry. But if you leave them in there and she doesn't say anything, and she's angry throughout the day, and then she comes home to those same dishes that you actually do wash, you just don't wash them at the time she wants you to, and she starts going off, she's starting. So you'll kind of know, because don't just assume she's just crazy. She's just crazy if that's what she normally does. But if she doesn't, if you're like, she's so, I didn't even think she would get mad. If you see yourself having those reactions, I mean, normally if you stay out late and normally she's like, I'm going to hang with my boys, and you're like, yeah, get the hell out. Good. Paint my nails and spend some time with my girls. Or, whatever. Or get the hell out. I get some alone time. But then you go one day and you're like, she's like, where you been? And you're like, oh, I was hanging with my boys. And she's like, and you're like, should I have called you first? I mean, I left a message. I mean, it's still, Joe and Ben. I mean, it's the same two people I hang out with every Wednesday. Pretty much practically everyone. You're starting to question what the hell's going on. What did I do different? And you really didn't do anything different. She started. So that's the irritability. I talked about the depression. I mean, that's the anger. Irritability, I explained a little bit earlier. It's a little less than anger. Anger is lying in wait. She's getting ready to look for something. Not look for something, but it's there. It's always been there, and all of a sudden she's mad. That's how you know it's PMDD versus she's just crazy. If she's just going off all the time, she's just crazy. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a traitor to my gender, but all that going off, I don't get it. He's a man, okay? Allow him to make some decisions, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway, so irritability, a little bit different. She's going to just be annoyed, okay? But these are PME, and if it's the 2% added to the 8% added to what 40% of the women have. So what you're understanding now, or you should be beginning to understand, is this woman, if she's part of the 2%, has PMDD. She has PMS, so there's physical symptoms. She has an adjustment to the hormonal imbalances, and then she has multiple highlighted symptoms that consist of probably one of these three. Either it's depression, irritability, or anger. Any variance of that, she just has one less. So let's just say she just has really bad PMDD. She doesn't have PME. She doesn't get super mad around those times. She's not that irritable. She's irritable, but not to an extent. But if you start to see, I'm trying to show you what it looks like. So if you're in her life, you can help alleviate it. Let's talk about some alleviations. Let's get to that. Because there are ways to alleviate it. In different in each woman, right? Okay, let's get to some ways to combat this stuff, because you probably need to know. Before I tell you that, most women lose 1,400 days on PMDD, or PMDD and PME plus PMS. That's 3.85 years of your life if it was consistent. For 3 years, 0.85, you would actually be on having PMDD, or PMDD plus PME, ME symptoms. Think about how much, and I want to impact how much of your life it takes over for you and your man, or for you and your family, or for you and your kids if you have sons, and why men don't understand. It makes sense that you don't, because she is not normally like that. Some women have it and they're already crazy. So that's an obvious one. I mean, you're not going to feel much of a contrast, because she's pretty much just crazy anyway. And then you a couple of months during the week, she's extra crazy. This is not PMDD. This is a woman that has other emotional issues that are being exacerbated. If she's normally bipolar, for example, and she has PMDD, and she has PME, and she has PMS, I mean, she's probably slashing tires. I call them tire slashers just as a joke, but she's probably slashing tires at this point. You go out with the wrong girl, you hit this woman on the wrong day, she's actually ovulating on top of that. She's gonna do something violent. Like she's gonna beat up a girl, she's gonna call and cuss somebody out, she's gonna be like on level 25, and you're gonna be like, oh my God, you're normally crazy, but this is extra. Or you go to break up with her and she's already bipolar. So you're getting maximized crazy. And that's because you need to address the fact that she has bipolar first. And then if you want to stay with her, sometimes they're hard to take because you can't really differentiate between the two. Not so much those women I'm trying to address because they're going to have to be consistent. In a case of somebody maybe having bipolar disorder or schizophrenia, something like extra, you'll know the difference. I'm saying that to make the distinctions, because men call all women crazy, but you have to know the distinctions so you'll know how to react. If your girlfriend's she has other mental health issues, she's going to be worse during that time. Especially if she's not diagnosed, but you know she's crazy. And I say crazy just because that's how men talk. Just identifying with what men generally call it. They don't call it my girlfriend's bipolar. They say my girlfriend's crazy. If she has PMDD on top of that, in the beginning she's that 8% to 2% of the population with PME as well. God bless you. This woman is on one. This is a woman where people with PMDD go, dang, woo, how is he with her? We're saying it, and we already have our own issues. We're already falling out every month with cramps, and you're like, oh my God, what is happening? We're already looking for stuff that's not. So we already have our own issues. But if we're looking at that and going, that's pretty extra, she's probably experiencing some other mental health issue that you should address. I say that. Okay, so now, what do? So some of the stuff that you can use for this large period of time, once you realize what your pattern. So you're going through step 1, you realize, okay, I have PMDD. So you've been diagnosed. You start to see when you have it. So I'm 7 days to 10 days, depending upon my period. Then you diagnose your other symptoms. Okay, I've got anemia. And so that's going to help with fatigue. And if I'm fatigued, I'm going to be more irritable and all of these things. Okay, how to take care of it. And then if you're like, well, I have 2 things that I need to take. Okay. Some of the things you can do. This is a lot, but you must adjust your diet. I know you're like, but I'm craving chocolate. I don't care. You have to find sugar-free chocolate. You can still eat it. You just can't eat regular chocolate. Okay, you'll have to adjust it because it will spike. So let's say, for example, sugar spikes is the one thing you're craving, but you could just eat more fruit. Some people are not satisfied with that because it doesn't replace the taste of the chocolate that you actually want. So you eat sugar-free chocolate. It does exist. People like sugar-free chocolate. See's Candies also has sugar-free chocolate if you don't find it anywhere else. But they have sugar-free chocolate. You will have to eat that. Otherwise, if your main symptom is irritability, not so much if you're depressed, but if your main symptom is irritability or anger, you're poor man. You're going to eat some chocolate, and about 30 minutes later, he's going to get yelled at. It's going to happen. You'll be like, can you bring me some cookies? And he won't bring you anything sugar-free. He'll bring you like regular cookies because he loves you. And you don't know that you need something sugar-free, and you're going to eat those cookies, and you're probably going to eat more than you normally eat. You're craving. You're going to eat like a pregnancy. You're going to eat 3 versus the 1. And 30 minutes are going to go by. It's going to get in your system, and you are going to be irritated. Now, you're already going to suffer from irritability, but it's going to be, what is it, the word for today? Exacerbated, meaning made worse. It's going to be made worse. So when you were normally added to another symptom, so let's just say I ate these 3 cookies. It's sugar, so I'm now like spiked. I'm already irritable. Now when I'm looking for my keys, rather than he goes, babe, you're starting, okay? Just take care of your keys. I'm going to be like, what did you just say to me? And he's like, damn. What the hell just, well, I'm just letting you know what happened. No, you don't let me know. And he's going to be like, are you having a bad month? Because no, you just ate some chocolate. You just ate some sugar. So that has to be, the minute you know you're starting, whatever your trigger symptom is, okay, I'm running around looking for keys. The fact that I'm looking for my keys, automatically, no sugar. Okay, I will sneak some if I'm going to be alone for the next, 5 hours. And I'm not going to see anybody because sugar stays in your system 2 hours. So if you don't plan on talking for 2 hours to anybody, you can eat some chocolate. You can eat some sugar. Let that go 2 hours when it's out of your system. If you are yelling and you're screaming and you recognize you're over the top with that, and ask yourself, what did you just eat? What did you have? You probably had some sugar. I had some fruit juice. Okay, is it real fruit juice or is it like the fake stuff? If it's the fake stuff, that is sugar. If you are even drinking fruit juice, normally it is about this much sugar unless it is sugar-free. 2 hours you have to not speak to him. Or in his case, 2 hours for you to get the hell up out the house. Come back 2 hours later if she'll let you go, because she's probably already yelling. Because if you recognize this, you'll know not to say that. That's the time you don't say that. If she is leveled up and you think, oh, God dang it, I just gave her chocolate, she must be on her cycle, then you know, oh, well, how about I look for your keys? You get the heck up out. You're looking for keys, you find them. I'm gonna put your keys on this hook. I'm gonna run to the store and get you some stuff. You need anything? 2 hours. I'm gonna go see my boy. 2 hours. If you messed up and gave her some chocolate and you didn't know, and she doesn't know, and you recognize it, it stays in your system for 2 hours. So that's a survival technique for you poor guys that are dealing with these women. Don't give her she's going to trick her. Give her some sugar-free chocolate and just don't tell her. But I say that as a joke, but I'm serious. I catch myself all the time because I don't know what's starting. I might know in the midst of it, but at the time I'm not paying attention. I'm drinking, eating some, double fudge, cake slice. And then I realize now, I must be on my period because I am ready to, my hormones are going crazy right now. But if you don't know, that's the gauging tool. So now I know I have 2 hours. Oh, damn it. I'm starting my cycle. I just ate that big double fudge piece of chocolate, Linda's, Cheesecake Factory cake. You got 2 hours to keep away from people. 2 hours to go home, 2 hours to let your man go hang out with his boys, 2 hours to say, I'm going to go in my room and take a nap even if you don't go to sleep. You just give yourself that time to get that sugar out of your system, especially if irritability or anger is your system. Not so much with depression. It will spike you and make you seem happy, and then you'll be depressed the next 5 minutes after 2 hours. So 2 hours gauging sweets. Otherwise, you're sugar-free. Or fruit. And fruit still has fructose, but it's not going to be as spiky, right? Okay. Another thing you're going to have to eat more of, if fatigue is one of your symptoms, and you don't know the source of it, vegetables. You're going to have to throw them at every meal. If you're having a sandwich, put some spinach at the top. If you're going to, throw some corn in there. If you're going to lunch, salad and soup. I don't care what it is. You got to stay away from it. I mean, you have to have them because it's going to mellow out your moods. This is all the things you're going to do before you realize you're starting your cycle, because you're going to do what you normally do. And you don't want the indicator to be there. So if I get up in the morning, I'm like, I already know. I'm going straight to iron tabs. I'm going straight to vitamin B complex. And then I'm going back to lady. That's it. Because I know if I don't, I'm going to end up encountering somebody that's getting on my nerve, or I'm going to be so tired, I just don't feel like doing it. So I take them. I learned part of my routine is you take them when you need them. And sometimes your body is going through it at night, or your body is going through it first thing in the morning, or your body. You don't worry about the time. I don't care. You take them. Keeping them on the nightstand, whatever your little routine is, you get on that routine and you do it. And you do it to save your man, because he's going to be like, oh my God, why are you mad this morning? Or your people at your work. They're going to do some, typical work people, or, the person you can't stand you normally and you normally don't give a damn. You're suddenly going to want to tell them off because they're hitting the nerve at that day. You want to do all that before. So when that same person comes to you, you have the same reaction. You're just like, we get it. We don't like each other. Let's just keep moving on. Any other work we need to talk about. If that's your normal reaction, you'll have a normal reaction because it would have already gotten into your system. Another thing is time-wise. It takes an hour. It does not take 30 minutes like normal. I'm telling you this from experience. I don't care how many times you take it. It is the same amount of time and sometimes longer. The closer to your period you get, the longer that stuff's going to take to get into your system. I do not know why it works like that. But this is over 12 years of figuring it out. It takes an hour minimum, depending upon what your other stuff is. Now, if you're taking depression medicine or anxiety medicine, and you take your PMD, you're going to go about an hour and a half because all of those have to kick in before you're back balanced again. So don't think, oh my God, let me take it. I got 30 minutes. No. You better take that stuff where you can sit around for about an hour. And I mean sit around, like literally lying down. Resting. Only because fatigue is one of my major symptoms. But if it's not yours and maybe you're just ready to, shoot up a building because you have bipolar on top of that, you might want to, you need to let all of that kick in fully. Not halfway, not partially, not 35 minutes worth, you give it an hour. So that means if you take it late, you didn't take it early before you started your workday, and all of a sudden in the middle of your workday you have to take it. You have an hour before you're back balanced. Okay? And for your poor man, try to bother her. Be real nice to her in that hour. Rub her back. This is all saving you, by the way. To give men advice, how do you handle a woman like this? You have to make sure she has everything she needs ahead. That way, when she goes to grab, it's there. Insomnia may be part of it for some people. So you'll need something to help you sleep. It doesn't happen every month, but when you need it, something healthy, not healthy, but something more natural is melatonin, but it takes time to get into your system. So you need first time you take it, 2 hours. It's not going to even take effect. So if you take that right before you go to bed, you're still going to be up. Now, there are heavier things. Some people take Ambien. I don't know. I've never taken it. That probably kicks in about an hour or so. But anything stronger than that, you'd have to test it out, depending upon how bad your insomnia is. And your insomnia is bad around that time because you have everything about your body changing. Everything. Like you're pregnant. So if you were pregnant, you eat a lot, you have cravings. I mean, your body is literally made to have babies. So when your body starts ovulating, it's thinking, I'm getting ready to get pregnant. So it starts doing a bunch of stuff. If you look at it in that simplistic form, you'll know what symptoms you'll start to have. You eat too much. You will start to ache. Hot and cold flashes. Everything you have when you're pregnant. By the time you get pregnant, or if you have already been pregnant, you're like, oh yeah, that's true. Pregnancy is a breeze. I mean, not it's ever a breeze, but you already feel everything, so you're fine. I mean, I literally, if you haven't had kids yet, or if you do have kids, you'll realize it was a lot easier for you to go through. Your body works faster. I mean, I think I have 45 minutes each pregnancy. I probably was in labor about that long. I didn't have time for medicine half the time. So it's that's what your body is doing, just to give you some basics, and some basics for him. So if you are been around pregnant women, or you understand, kind of treat her the same. This works. I'm telling you. There was one that each of my favorite relationships, closest men in my life, have that understanding. I don't know how they get it. My favorite one, his mother had it. And so he just kicked right in. He had, what do you normally do? Okay. He would keep stocked that, and then he would, be really nice during that. I mean, because he knew that's going to make it better. It's better to work with her than against her. Meaning, what's your problem? Every month we got to go through this stuff. I'm so tired. And then that's just going to create anxiety for her, because now she's going to be dealing with these emotions that she can't control, or she can, but dealing with these emotions, and she's got to deal with the stress of you threatening her. So you have to think about that. Okay. I hope I answered everything. I don't know if anybody has any questions. You have many females in your life. You poor thing. How do I know? I know because I've been researching since I was maybe 23. This is years. Years. This is not me just sharing stuff, that I just found out 4 years ago. I mean, putting all of this together took a long time. It took a minute for me to even know what PMDD, that even existed. I didn't even know that was a real thing, because I kept going to the doctor saying I have PMS, and he'd give me some aspirin or Tylenol, which is really big for cramps. And I was like, who's taking this? And I'm stuffing 4 and 5 Tylenols down my mouth, and I'm taking another 4 and 5, and then another 10, or I haven't eaten, and so I'm getting sick and I'm throwing up. And then I was ibuprofen in it. Some people take Advil. Yeah, if I want to take 10. If I want to take 10 and knock that pain out eventually, if I ate, because if I didn't eat, I can't even take it. So I have to eat, which takes longer to get in your system. Once you eat and then take medicine, it also has to digest your food. I don't care if it's 5 crackers. The body has to digest it. So you're giving yourself more time. So instead of going an hour, now I'm going an hour and 25. Because it has to be in my bloodstream. Digesting food slows it down. Keeps me from getting sick, but it slows it down. And this is coming from experience. This is me saying, I went through it. Trust me, I've been on every system there possibly could be, trying to figure out what the heck was going on. And that was one of them. I realized I might take 10 ibuprofen and that'll eventually work. But if I take those same 10 on an empty stomach, you can imagine, right? So I have to eat. So every time I ate, and sometimes somebody only had ibuprofen, because I didn't used to carry stuff with me. I would just be like, I have to leave it home, but I'm at the library, or I'm at the grocery store. And I'm crawling to the aisle, basically. Somebody's running to the aisle to grab me, and they come back with Advil, because that's pretty standard. Another thing you might want to consider if you have really bad is Midol. It is made for that. Now, you cannot take Midol on an empty stomach. You cannot. And Midol tends to absorb faster. But it is temporary. It won't last all day. So if you take 2 Midol, say you ate, God willing, because if you take that stuff on an empty stomach, you are dead. You will be sicker than any Advil could ever give you. you will be dirt sick. I mean, I was sick on Advil when I took some one time and I only had an apple. And so I'm like, I had an apple. And I took, these Advil, but because I had to take so much, I got sick. No. I was like, somebody's like, I got some Midol, and I'm listening for something. Okay, Midol, I don't care. Midol. And I had, I don't know, maybe, I'm going to say some beef jerky or something. I was sick as hell. Oh my God, I was sick. I was like, and I ended up throwing it all back up anyway. So, Midol does work. Pamprin works even better, and maybe one of each. This is depending upon how bad your symptoms are. Pamprin is more irritable, angry, and cramps. Advil is more, I am aching, I'm irritable because I'm aching, and I'm just having everything. But you have to be careful when you take it. It also absorbs faster, but doesn't last as long. Pamprin lasts a little longer. So if you could take that combination, but if you're dealing with straight achiness, pain, just take a leave. I don't care if you ate nothing. You got up first thing in the morning, it is designed for that. So you get up, I haven't eaten anything, I am in the middle of work, I'm getting ready to these are gonna get worse, bam. You take it, you just have to wait for the time for it to get into your system. Some other suggestions. Exercise. Now you're like, exercise? Exercise, for whatever reason, alleviates the pain. It doesn't hit you as bad. You don't really feel it those 3 days. And it works if you don't exercise any other day in your life, 3 days before your period, get to running. I mean, really, it becomes your lifestyle. But if you're not an exercise person, you don't care how much you weigh or whatever, or you already weigh enough, or whatever your situation is, 3 days before. Now, this will save your man's life, because you're going to endorphins happen when you exercise. So you're going to be encouraging those. You're going to be alleviating some of the pain and some of the cravings. So if you don't do it any other day and you know your cycle, 3 days before. I don't care if you just walk park far away and walk up every destination. Don't care. Speed walk, take some stairs instead of the elevator. I don't really care what you do. Do something. Right? So this is why it's important. Another thing to do, so we've got exercise, we've got diet, sleep. You're going to need more than the average one. You were like, I got 5 hours sleep last night. Not if you have PMDD, you better get 10. You better put 8. You better be going to bed, at like 8:30. You don't have to, but guess what? It's going to exacerbate your symptoms. Let's say you're doing a combination of all of these. You're eating chocolate throughout the day. You're eating sweets. You're not a lot of vegetable, not a lot of, you're eating a little bit here and there. You don't exercise, right? You're not taking anything because you don't know you have anything. What do you think your day is like? Let's say you got bipolar on top of that. Depression or anxiety or anything else any type of mental health issue that you don't even know you have. You just know you have mood swings all the time. I mean, you can see how difficult it is going to be for your family to deal with, for your husband to deal with, for your boyfriend who loves you, but he keeps getting attacked every 5 minutes to deal with. Not bipolar, not the bipolar. That has to be a separate issue, but just the PMDD for a woman that's normally okay, right? Matter of fact, the contrast is so great, you wonder what's happening. Makes you question, like, babe, why are you so, why are you this mad? It's those types of things. Or why do you, I mean, I'm just going out for a few. If you start having those conversations, okay? So relieve him of that. Diet, coffee, caffeine. You have to eat with these. You can do it because if you have fatigue like I do, you're gonna do something. But you're going to have to eat. And what a lot of people do is they will replace a cup of coffee with the meal, which you can normally do, right? Okay, but not, you can't just, I'll just have a smoothie. No, you won't. You will have a smoothie and it's some eggs. Those diets, get off of them. I'll just, eat a raw egg and no, you won't. You will eat that and some spinach. You know what I mean? So you just skipping breakfast at that time is just, it's horrible. Don't do it. Eating a smoothie during that time for breakfast, don't do it. It's not going to add or minus your weight. Just do protein instead, right? If you don't really want to eat some protein. But eat. So another thing that will exacerbate the symptoms is not eating. So you'll have a woman on a diet. First of all, I don't believe in diets. Not like that. You might eat less of what you normally eat, but if you're on some like specialty thing going on, and you have PMDD, so you're gonna eat, 2 slices of cheese and, drink some cranberry juice. You have to get off of that during your cycle. You have to literally eat. People are like, how do you eat all this food and you're not fat? It's because I'm gonna replace it with like some protein or something. I don't have to eat a lot. Small portion, but you have to be full. So you eat until you're full and then you stop eating. You can't just be like, I'm gonna skip breakfast and I don't need lunch and then I'm gonna drink a cup of coffee and then maybe I'm gonna eat, some pizza. First of all, it's gonna put weight on you, just for weight loss purposes. But 2, you're gonna be a mess, PMDD wise. Because at the end of the day, you're not gonna sleep. Coffee is okay, but if you have insomnia that month, now I personally do this, okay? I don't know I'm PMDD, right? My symptoms are very light this particular month. So I'm coffeeing it up. And I can go coffee all the way until like 2, 3, 4. I'm the type of person that will drink coffee before I go to sleep. Sleep for 30 minutes, have more energy when I wake up. But if I haven't eaten, I will be up. I will be up. And sometimes I did it and I'm like, oh, I'm starting, because I will be up. Normally, I would just do that and then, maybe wake up a little bit. But those months where I'm really bad and I'm just caffeining it up, I'm going to be up. Because I haven't had any food. I probably had 2 slices of cheese. I'm making up something. I probably had 2 slices of cheese and, some chocolate. like this is a bad diet anyway, but let's just say I'm making it worse. You want to see me really irritable? I would have eaten some sweets, drank a cup of coffee, and that's it. And then I was up the night before because I didn't realize I was having symptoms. So, I mean, of course I'm going to be irritable. First of all, I'm not sleeping. And second of all, I'm not eating. So I don't diet like that. I mean, you'll see me if I'm not doing if I have no symptoms, I might grab, a protein shake with protein. That's the one that makes you gain weight. So you have to be careful how much of that you drink. But you have to drink to get full. Sorry. So for many people, that routine will put weight on you, especially if you don't work out. So eat the protein. I might have half a protein shake and an egg. I love steak in the morning, so I might have a steak. But I'm not eating. This is a mistake I made all throughout college. And, I was yelling at every teacher I had. Probably because I was hungry, but I was yelling at every teacher. It started to mellow out about that time. Probably exaggerating. Probably more like high school. I was just cranky and I wouldn't have eaten. and I'm drinking, I didn't drink coffee back then, but I'm drinking, juice, which is sugar. So it's a lot. I told you this was going to be a long subject. It was going to be a longer live than usual, but I needed to get as much of this information out. Something interesting about environment as well. If you are with the wrong person, if you are in a stressful environment, if you live a life of stress, using India as the example, 4.2 million in America suffer from this, 20 million in India. Put that together. What's it like to live in India versus here? Not to say that it's great here, but Okay? Any more questions? That was a long answer to that one question. I do apologize. I will go as long as you need me to, because that was a question. As long as you need me to, because I want to answer your questions if you have any. So the statistic of 1,400 goes to global burden of disease. It's the GBD. That's where that statistic comes from. I want you to know that they're legit statistics. What else we got? You've taken this before. I actually did this before. Yes, I did. And here's the answer to that question. Somebody asked me about sex drive. This may make men happy, but surprise a lot of women. Because we're 8 to 2% of the population, your body is made to have children. You probably have a more comfortability with sex. Having it, experimenting. I mean, I don't know what you're doing to answer your question. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But yes, you probably are more comfortable in that area. And it's probably more desired during those times. Because you're basically ovulating, like literally. Your body's like, oh, we're going to make babies. So you're going to be maybe different than a woman that doesn't have that. Some women are actually uncomfortable with sex when they feel it. You're probably not going to be that woman. So props to your man, because he's probably happy. But probably shocking to you, like, why am I like this? You're probably up in the ante during that time, just because that's why your body's. Most of these women that I have spoken to, talked to, had reactions to, had conferences with, doctors, all of them say they're probably more comfortable in that area than most. Is that normal? And the doctors will tell you yes, it is, because of the reason. It's because you're looking to have babies. You're also more susceptible to having them. So be careful. Use the methods that are given to you. Speaking of methods, I do have another one. You've taken this before. Yes. So I don't recommend this one forever, but here's another solution. Some women have taken their birth control pills. First of all, birth control pills, period, it does work. They will stop them, but you also will be giving your body hormones for a really long time. But it will balance you out. You will not have as many of these symptoms, so that does work. But some of the women step it up and take the birth control pill that stops your periods. Now, I knew a girl that was on this for 5 years. I, matter of fact, got the idea from her. And she had zero symptoms. She was she didn't even barely have a period. She was great. And so she recommended this for me. She goes, I had PMDD, girl, I've been off of it for 5 years. I am very happy. I take this, it stops my periods. So I'm like, great. I don't tell my boyfriend I'm doing this. I go to the doctor. I'm like, can I get on birth control pills? The doctor's like, well, you can use regular ones and it's the same thing. And I said, no, we're going to go with this one. That way I'm going to be completely relieved. And the doctor says, okay, prescribes. I start taking it. Okay. I don't know what it's like to be psychotic. But my boyfriend will probably, that I had at the time, will probably tell you that I was. Now, good thing for me is he knew my fluctuations. He knew everything. I mean, his mom had it, so he was all on point. And I got way worse. And one day he said, listen, don't know what you're doing, but you're usually bad, but this is worse. Like, you are ready to kill. Like, what are you? And I was like, I'm not doing it. And then I was like, oh, well, I'm not having periods. And he's like, what? And I was like, I'm taking this. He's like, get off. Because I don't even know this person anymore. So it doesn't work for everyone. For me, it made me worse. I don't know if my body's repressing feelings. I don't know what was happening with my body, but it was not adjusting well. It was, the longer I went without a period, the worse I got. I mean, the poor guy was literally like, I don't know what's wrong. And I wasn't thinking it was that. So I didn't even tell him. I was thinking I was okay. And he was like, I don't, babe, why are you like this? Like, I was so different. He was like, you're doing something. Like, are you on drugs? Like, what are you doing? And then I thought about it and I was like, oh, well, I mean, I'll stop my periods. And he was like, what? What are you taking? And I'm like, it's just birth control. But it's like, and he's like, get off of it. Please, for the sake of this relationship. That's how bad it was. For the sake of this relationship. I mean, I love you, but I will love you from afar. You got to get off that stuff. I get off of it, back to my normal. But, but this other girl's boyfriend was happy as hell because he was like, oh my God. She's great. Like, I had to deal with all this before, and now, so it depends. It's a possible solution. You can either go repress your periods or just get on birth control if you want to be on pills that long. But it's an option. That is an option, absolutely. But beware. Birth control pills did work for me, but I did not want to just stay on them. Repressing my periods did not. I went into crazy mode. I don't know what happened. I was on that for like 2 months. That was too many. And no, maybe three or 4 months. 3 or 4 months. That was 3 or 4 months too many. I needed to get off of it. So yeah, we discussed PMDD. We discussed PME, which is more emotional, and we discussed PMS. Not every woman has it. You know, not every woman has PMS specifically. 8% of the population has PMDD, and then out of that 8%, 2%, like myself, has everything, which is PME. So, some ways to deal with it. Do create a system for yourself. Sleep. Exercise at least 3 days before you actually start. Learn your cycle. Let your man know your cycle. And your loved ones, because I can't tell you how many times I've gotten on, probably, especially during that time when I was repressing them on people. If something doesn't work for you, please don't take it. Don't stick with it. I was lucky somebody pointed it out to me, but I wouldn't have eventually caught it, but it would have been like 6 months down the line. You know what I mean? Like, eventually. But eventually is not enough when you're with people. So, and you're going to always be around people. So please do monitor the monitor, because sometimes what you're using may not work for you anymore. If you get a routine, stick to it. What did I do for my fatigue? You must be suffering from that. What I did for my fatigue is I took care of my anemia. I take iron tabs, and I do take vitamins, and I sleep. I mean, I'm like out. If someone's like, we're going out, I might go and drink an energy drink. Okay. But if I really am smart, I don't. I'll be like, I'm going to go ahead and skip tonight. I'm going to go to bed. And I might go in. There's been times where I came in at 5 o'clock and went right to sleep and didn't wake up until 9. That's how tired I get. So, rewatch this a couple times, do some research. This is something that's not monitored by doctors. You have to go to them and get them to monitor it. You have to create a system. You have to know what it is. You have to share it with your family, and you have to do it religiously. All right. Thank you so much. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Very long video for this one. Too important to go short. I'll see you guys next time.